Fret friends, welcome to part 3 of this Jim Harley refret. The last time you saw this guitar, I just got the frets in and we were ready for leveling, beveling the frets, which I have done. I want to do it off camera because I've got so much on at the moment. I can't be making video all the time, but basically what we do is when we're beveling, first we need to take off the edge of the frets so they don't stick in your fingers when you play, which we do with a 90-degree file there. Then we need to bevel the frets at the edges so we come across, so we're not just flat, and we use a 35-degree file on this side, which I have done. I then normally finish off just with a flat file just to remove any more burrs if there are any there. This is a number 3 Swiss file, number 3 cut, which is quite a fine cut, which I like to use. We've got that all done. I've just finished leveling the frets. Now the way I prefer to level the frets is with a flat beam. This is milled steel. Well, it's steel. It's a 2x1 tube of box section, or a section of box section. It's steel. It's been milled flat on the top and on the bottom, absolutely flat. And on one side I have 240 grit sandpaper, which I use to remove the main material. Once I've got it nearly flat, or as flat-ish, I then finish with 400 grit just to smooth it all off. And now what remains to be done is, now I've flattened and levelled the frets, we always must make sure that we've got the neck level first. So we've got it on the jig, we've got it supported, we've got it level, it's all been checked with the notched straight edge, absolutely level, supported underneath, then we level the frets. Once that is done, we now need to move on with the frets are now flat. We need to put that arc back in on the frets, because when the string touches the fret, we need it to touch just the top of the fret. We don't want it touching 2mm of flatness because it's going to buzz. We need to basically put that crown back in. Now what I like to make my crown, the bit of area, the top, around about 1/3 of a millimetre where the string touches it. It's kind of a real good measurement. Even thinner if you could get that, but I think 1/3 of a millimetre is just about right. So I will be hand filing and putting that curve back in. I'll be using a 3-sided file. Probably not this one. This is one I used to use, but it's quite coarse. I will use my new one from Guitars and Woods in Portugal. It's got 1 flat side for levelling and 2 arc sides. And what I'll do is I'll be going in this sort of direction across, and as I file, I'm going to roll over until I get that arc back in the fret. I will finish off with the proper profiling file. I've got a 2.5mm one there. It's already cut. That will just smooth off anything I've missed, remove any burrs, and then we can move on to the polishing. So I don't think you're going to see anything from back there, but I will zoom in just to show you where we are. And there is a neck. Like I say, I've just been over with the 400 side, and I've checked everything with the fret rocker. We have no rock anywhere. It means we've got the frets all level, but they are. I really don't think you will see from here, but the frets are now flat. I don't know if you could zoom in and see any of that. I mean, some of them here on the top about 1.5mm, 2mm wide where they've been flattened. It's why I'm pleased I've gone with a high fret wire, because I was able to remove a little bit more material than, not more than I needed to, but enough to get the frets all level and still leave plenty of material on the frets. Once these are profiled, we are still going to have around about 1.2mm height on the frets, which is going to be brilliant for the future because it means we can get another fret level or 2 out of this somewhere down the line. I would expect this fret wire to last a minimum of 60 years from now, maybe even more than that. It depends how much Richard plays the guitar. It's why I use the 18% nickel silver, because it lasts much longer. So without further ado, and because I've got so much on right now and I've got to nip out and then do this, that and the other, I'm going to crack on with reprofiling or crowning these frets, and I'm going to start going in polish. I will come back at the polishing stage to show you where we are, but all being well, by the end of today I would imagine we are more or less going to be ready for getting some strings on this, getting a new nut on their strings. The electrics, by the way, are all absolutely sorted. We've had the new jack in there for almost 3 weeks, probably I think it's 19 days, and the battery is still charged, fully charged, so we've fixed that problem, so that's great. So I'm going to crack on. Stay tuned because I'll be coming back later with an update, so I will see you then. Right, I thought as a little treat I would bring the camera close in, as close as I really can, and show you how I go about crowning these frets. Well, you see these two are half done. Now I can't do this side because I can't get the angle on the file, but what I can do is I can do the middle and the far side, and you'll see why I cover this with tape in a minute. And I'm actually going to use a file I said I wasn't going to use. I'm going to use my 3-edged crimson guitar file because it removes a lot of material. But I'm going to show you how we go on. If you can see this fret here, it's black all across the top, and I need to get a thin line down the centre. So what we do is basically I take the file, I take a flat edge, and I start level, and I just bring it across and roll. I'm rolling away from you at the moment until we start getting a thin line down there. And again, I'll be angling it even more, roll over even more on the next stroke. And you see where I'm going with this? And hopefully you can see there. Now I'm going to take the cloth and I'm going to wipe the file again. And I'm going to go across to the other side. And there you see, we're now getting that thin line down the centre, which is going to give us that crown. Now this side I can't do because I can't get in because of the angle with the handle in the way. I will turn the guitar around 180 degrees and go from the other side. So I'm doing basically just over half a fret. And again, nice and thin. And I would like to finish off with this file, which is a little bit finer. Problem with this file is, as you've just seen there, it does tend to slip over because it's got that finer cut. But there you go, that is getting the crown back in on the frets. And I will finish off in time with this file. I'll go over 2.5mm side again, and I'll just come across and I'll just remove any burrs. Always cleaning my file. Now you see why I always cover the fingerboard. Having covered the guitar with tape. So these 3 half frets are done. I've just started to remove the pen, so it means we've got a nice crown in there. Sometimes you can feel with your fingers. Need a little bit more work on those, but I'm going to get a nip on now with all these. I'm going to go across the whole lot and I'll turn the guitar around 180 degrees and I'll do these sides as well. Good morning, friends. About 7:45 in the morning. I am just filling in the holes on this Jim Harley, and to do that it was difficult. Well, I've got no paint. I've got some small holes here I drilled when I'd got cracks in the lacquer, and I thought I'll drill them and I'll refill. And I think that colour's going to match pretty okay. Now I don't have paint in this workshop. I don't do paint here, so I made myself up with some sawdust. This is just pine sawdust. I got a piece of pine, got a fine saw on there, made myself a lot of sawdust, and I thought, I'm going to colour it. Well, a couple of ways I can go. Brown's going to be too much, so I went with a little bit of turmeric, knowing that the glue I'm using, by the way, is epoxy. Mix up some epoxy, drop some turmeric in there, drop the sawdust in there, mix it up so it's about the same colour, which is, there it is, there's my little mix. It's malleable, it's spreadable, it's a great, and that's what I've got over, by the way. I've already done the work. Absolutely fantastic. A little bit orangey, but you know, it doesn't really matter. I've talked to the owner about it because he's not even. He says I'm not bothered about the holes. I said, well, I've got to fill them in. I'll get them filled in. And what I'm going to do now is, once that's dry, in about maybe half an hour, it's drying dark anyway. Always dry dark. So we are going to have 3 or 4 spots on this guitar. It's going to dry a bit dark. What I'll do is I'll sand it flat, and I'll put a little dab of super glue on there. Some nice thin CA glue, which I've already got out. Just put it up just to seal it in properly, and we'll go over with some fine sandpaper, 1000 grit upwards, 1000, 1200, 1500, 2000, maybe even 2500, and we'll do a little polish with a bit of T-cut. And once that's done, we can get in the new saddle and the new nut. You know, the nut we're going with Graphtec, which is already out of the pack. I've got a new saddle made from Araya resin. This is a hard composite. These are the only ones I really use. Now my stockist has run out of these, he can't go anymore, so this is the last one I'll be using. I'll be fitting that in. It fits just about perfect anyway. I'll file a little bit off the bottom, we'll get the height set, and that's it. And once that's done, get some strings on my guitar, get it set up, and it can go out. So it will be done today. Richard will be picking it up tonight. And like I said, I've just got to wait for that glue to dry. So I'll nip on it with something else because I've got to go up to Beaver Guitars this morning. I've got someone coming around for a guitar at 10 o'clock. Then I've got to nip out up to Beaver Guitars for about, maybe I'll get there about 11:30, get back home for 12:30 and have an afternoon in the workshop. So without further ado, I'm going to crack on. I'm going to do something else for half an hour and I'll be back with this once I've got the nuts on, the saddle, and maybe some strings. So back soon. And welcome back, and here we are with this Jim Harley guitar all finished. And it looks and plays superb. I had a couple of incidents where I had to fill in some chips just here, which are drilled and refilled. You can just about see them if you want to look close. We look worse from the top than we do from your angle. But the refret, absolutely beautiful. Beautiful frets. We had to work around the binding. I've just finished cutting the nut. The action is beautifully low, but not too low. 12th fret, we're looking just about 2mm. 12th fret is here. There you go. I've knocked another £5 off because the strings I had weren't brand new. They were from my Yamaha FG700. The strings hadn't been on long. We'd only been on a couple of weeks and I'd hardly played it. So slightly used strings. So I've knocked him more than £5 off. This guitar has not been an earning job for me. It's something I did as part of the auction for church for refugees, for Syrian refugees in Greece. So I already knew I wasn't going to be doing this for an actual wage. Even less now. I've knocked a few quid off. All that remains for me to do now is to go and get a battery because I've got one of my rechargeables in there. The battery's been in there 3 weeks. It's still working. So there you go. So what did we do to this guitar? Well, it had the wrong jack in there. It only had a mono one, so it was draining the battery. The battery was dying within a week. I put a stereo jack in there, which you need when you've got a battery operated EQ in there. The EQ's all fine out. Everything's all fixed inside the guitar. The guitar itself is a very nicely built guitar. I don't know what woods they are. I have tightened up all of the tuners, this side, here, and on the top. We have given the guitar a complete refret, working around the binding, which means we had to cut the frets inside this binding. I actually ended up doing 2 refrets on this guitar because the first refret, the frets didn't take that well at all. So I had to take them out and start again, use a different fret wire, which I did. But these have taken really well. The most awkward parts were this half because you can't press them in because my press is not wide enough to accommodate the body, so I had to hammer them in. And hammering them in is difficult on a wood so brittle. I would imagine this wood has not been treated for many years. I don't know, but it was that brittle and dry. I had to soak it in mineral oil for 2 days to make it able to accept the frets. This is why I had so many problems and why it's taken so long. Eventually I did get the frets in, so the cost of the fret wire again is out of my pocket. I'm not going to charge extra for any of that. It's not the owner's fault. You know, something I should have maybe seen before. I've had the same problem on acoustic guitars before where the rosewood is very brittle because it's not been oiled over the years. I tend to oil my rosewood fingerboards twice a year with lemon oil or mineral oil as we know it, especially formulated for guitars. And it just keeps the wood supple, keeps a bit of moisture in there, stops it getting brittle, and it keeps it clean. But end of the day, we are all done. The new frets are in. The guitar plays beautiful. I've got a lovely, lovely low action. We've got a Graphtec nut on there, which I've just finished cutting. Looks really, really nice. And the guitar plays. Let's get out of the way. There you go. Plays beautiful, sounds as good as anything I've got. So that's it, Jim Harley model GJA ED4C. Guitar's about 25-year-old. They've got brand new frets on there. These frets are going to last donkey's years. I would not be surprised to see this guitar last another 40 or 50 years with these frets. The body has stayed in great shape over 25 years. There's no belly bow in there for us. It's very slight, nothing to worry about. A very strange looking guitar. Not my colour scheme, but I'm sure Richard, Mr. Smeaton, absolutely loves this guitar. Beautiful back on there. Beautiful pieces of wood. So I hope he enjoys this guitar for many, many more years, because it is not a cheap job having these things refretted. But end of the day, the refugees have benefited. They've been fed over the winter. That's gone to that. The church has been great in helping that cause. Richard is getting back a wonderful guitar. I hope he really enjoys playing it. All the electrics are fixed. I've enjoyed working on it. It's been a big job, but yeah, good stuff. Always satisfying to get them finished and get them out the door. So, as always, till the next project, be good to each other, and I will see you soon.